You know Bartnick, obviously, right?
Oh, yeah.
Joe Bartnick, this is one of my worst experiences doing a podcast. He goes, we tape at my house, so come by. And I go, okay, because I live in Pass. He lives in Altadena. I'm like 10 minutes away from me. This is going to be fucking great. So I can just do this and just get back to my day. And he's like, yeah, just come by at noon. I go, perfect. So I show up Sunday at noon. He shows up. I knock on his door, mesh shorts, tank top, hair disheveled, and the first thing he says to me is, "You're not in a rush, are you?" I'm like, "Oh, for fuck's sakes, man! God damn it!"
But like this, he goes,
"Yeah,
you're not in a rush, are you?" It takes 4 minutes to get the first word out of his giant mouth.
Yeah, he's got to look for the sun and then squint, and then he can talk to me. Hey, can you? Jesus Christ! So now I'm sitting there for 30 minutes watching him unrack cables, and he's going, "How do I? What is this?" I'm like, "Oh, for fuck's
You're like,
sake.
I guess I'm the technician,
You
too.
don't even know."
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
God damn it.
No, that's an extreme case. I find the tragedy of starting the podcast late is so much good shit is wasted.
When you're just bullshitting?
Yeah. Because that's the whole fucking program is dudes bullshitting.
Yeah.
Which we've made. I love how we've made a business out of the worst part, the part we hated about stand-up, which was morning radio. We've now taken as like the most important thing we do. It's become more important than the stand-up, you know?
Are we recording right now?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because that's great. Okay, so let's just do it then.
Yeah.
Are we good?
Yeah, go.
That is, you got to put that part in. Because
It's not going anywhere.
Completely it. So, welcome back, everybody, to Common Pinata. Back with Big Man Mike. And, of course, one of my favorites, out of Los Angeles, a LA transplant to New York City, Matt Fulchiron. Matt, thanks for being here.
Great to be here.
Already picked the
Love
team,
being here.
the Mets.
I'm a casual sports fan.
Yeah.
And so I went to a Mets game, and my wife bought me this hat, and I love the way it looks, and I love wearing it. But that is one of the tough parts about being in New York is even though you're representing the area, you still find conflict. You know, there's still other teams. Yeah.
Jets, well, you don't like the Giants? It's like, oh, fuck, here we go.
And I know nothing about sports other than I like to go to baseball games.
Right.
And so people start, there's last names being thrown around. I can't even use it as reference. I don't know any last names. I'm just sitting there like a dummy watching people who are good at baseball play baseball.
So Babe Ruth played for the... Okay, so we got that out of the way. Okay, so you know him.
I know him.
You have one of my favorite lines in comedy.
Oh, good.
This is why I was... Because when I was booking this, I was like, I got to get Matt on because this is one of my favorite lines. I was discussing you with somebody recently, and they brought up a line of yours, and I was like, oh my fucking God. And ever since then, it's been literally my favorite line in comedy, where... Look, we work 30 minutes a night. You know, we get to do whatever we want. You could sleep in, you dress however you want, you could drink on the job, you could do all this stuff. And I'm just giving perspective to people so they understand why this is so fantastic.
It sounded like a brag.
But
we do whatever we want. Fuck you.
But before, I guess before a show, you were being announced. There was a green room full of comics, and Matt goes, well, guys, this is the part of the job I hate. And you walk out into your set, and I'm like, that's the fucking greatest line in comedy I've ever heard. It's the best green room joke.
It's so true.
By far.
It's so true when you have a good hang, going at a club or something, and you're like, I have a group of friends, like comics that I hang out with all the time, and it's a common phrase, which is, comedy really ruins a good hang.
Yeah.
Like hanging at a club, bouncing around like, I can't believe I got to do comedy and break up this fucking fun
You
time
can come back in a bad mood.
Yeah.
You're not the same guy anymore. But no, I named my album, This is the Part of the Job I Hate.
It is
and
so goddamn funny.
It's a leftover brand of humor, which is like a self-deprecating. I feel like nowadays everybody wants a gung-ho guy who's like on top of it, in charge. And my brand is like, I'm very 90s. I'm very grunge. I'm very like, take it or leave it. I'm not even sure if this is great. I secretly know it's great. I work on it all day for it to be great.
Yeah.
But then I pretend like it's just thrown together.
Yeah.
Like I've been watching the old David Letterman show on NBC.
Sure.
And I'm like, that's where I got this. They just took the piss out of a talk show.
Right.
I used to, not so much anymore, but I used to love to take the piss out of a stand-up show.
Right.
And on a showcase show that I used to do a lot, where you're like, basically competing with other comics.
Right.
It's fun to pretend like, and where everyone's going hard, and then you're like, this is bullshit. You know, it can be fun.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly into that anymore. I really like to give the audience something good, something quality. But there was an art to bullshitting an audience. And there was a time in my life where I had like mediocre jokes, and I would brag about how funny I was in between the mediocre jokes. And it was a hit. It was a hit.
It was a hit.
Yeah. And I couldn't keep going with it because I got older and lamer, and I didn't know it was based on like common expressions. Like I'd be like, yo, I wrote that joke on a deposit slip because that shit is money in the bank. Just like bragging. Just bragging, you know?
But
I don't do that anymore, but I love it. It's something, it's like my youth I can't get back to, and I can't recreate it, but I love it, and I'm glad it's on tape. I have a Live at Gotham on Vimeo that's just all that shit.
Right.
It'll get flagged on YouTube, but it's on Vimeo. It's on my website, thefulcharge.com.
What were you going to say?
No, we all know that 5 of those comics, too, that you're taking the piss out of.
Well,
joke's fucking money, dude. Like, is it? Because you have 5 roommates. What are you talking about with your money?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, that's the self-deprecating part, too, as well.
But it's almost like inside baseball on stage for that's why I always love working with you. Is those jokes. And, but I agree. I think there is something to, I think this is why Dane Cook, for example, never sustained relevance, is that he didn't grow older. He was still trying to be that guy for a few years. When he hit his peak, he was still doing things that were like B-sides 10 years ago, right? And then all of a sudden, recently, he became like an older guy, and he's talking about things that are going on in his life. And I feel like maybe the train left the station already, but he's still out there. He's still working. He's still crushing it. But I think there is a moment in time where every comic, the tricks and things that worked for you in your 20s and maybe early 30s, you do have to recalibrate at some point and adjust your act.
You do, and if you're doing your job, you're going to anyway. Like if you're always writing, you're going to anyway. And then on the point of appealing to the youth, it used to be easier to appeal to the youth because it was just like MTV, the hip-hop station, the alternative station. You knew all the current shit.
Sure.
Now the current shit is all spread out, and there's no way you can make a cultural reference other than something that's trending.
That's
and
so
unfortunately, that's mostly politics now, and that is divisive, and who wants it?
And it's over the day that it happens. Like if you tried to make a Chinese spy balloon joke the next day, it's a wrap because it was already done that night, and everyone's already posted their video about it. It's a wrap.
When you watch...
Unless you have something incredibly clever take on it that no one else has. You can't even talk about it.
When you watch a talk show now, you already heard all the jokes on Twitter. Everybody's working for free on Twitter. And there's only so many angles you can take on it. And by the time, by the time Jimmy Kimmel's saying it, I think he's awesome. But by the time he's saying it, it's like you've heard the joke practically.
And you can hear a variation of that joke. I remember when George Santos broke, there were 3 George Santos impersonators. There was SNL, there was Colbert, and then there was Kimmel. And they're all doing Santos, but it's just like a different variation, but it's the same jokes. So I think the echo chamber exists certainly on the left with a lot of those jokes slammed right.
Although to be fair, John Lovitz did Santos, I think on the Tonight Show or one of them, and it was perfect because he was just doing John Lovitz.
He was doing the liar guy.
It was so good.
That was like just sitting around for 30 years, 40 years, waiting to come back. You know,
that was that was a lot of people were tweeting that Lovitz should, and then of course, lo and behold, it happens, right?
Of course,
I mean, it's great.
Same way we got Betty White on Saturday Night Live, right? I mean, the internet is powerful.
I remember when I did one of the last Tonight shows I did. I had this joke about like a sex act or whatever. It was good. It was clean enough to be on the Tonight Show at the time, right? So I remember Leno saying to me, he's like, "Hey, Steve, you can keep doing jokes like that if you want, but at some point you're going to be the creepy guy." Doing those jokes.
Is that what he said to you as he shook your hand to the audience? Have a good night, everybody. You're going to be creepy if you keep doing this.
Lecture you in front of everybody.
Thank you, White Cosby. But no, I mean, it was in the green room, and it was one of those things where I was like, if he's taking the time to say this to me, I think he's trying to look out to protect me. And then I was like, yeah, I don't want to do doggy style jokes anymore, and mac and cheese and banging your head on the headboard and all that stuff. And I was at that age where I wanted to talk about different things anyway. So it was like it was a good push over the next step to go, let's mature a bit more.
It's great advice, and it hurts a little bit. First of all, to throw away a good joke.
Yeah.
But second of all, like, just knowing you have to grow up is fucking tough. But it's a reality. I read about it, and I think, was it Judy Carter that has a stand-up book? The entry-level book?
The comedy
You don't know.
Bible?
I read it before I started stand-up.
Okay.
And it was like, when older... It said in there, though.
We should send that book to Gary Cannon. We should send that to Gary Cannon. Yeah, sorry. You were saying?
No, it said, like, when older dudes or whoever does sex jokes, it's not as cute as when the 24-year-old does the sex joke.
But when you do, if the older guy does the sex joke that's in earnest, and he's doing it about his, not like trying to be, I'm fucking this bro. Like when you're not, if you're just doing it like my dick doesn't work type stuff, and you're being honest, then it's brilliant. But it's not, when you're,
if it comes
you're
from
holding on to the youth, then it's just like, ugh.
Anything that comes from truth, even doggy style, is fine. But if you're just doing it because I'm gonna write a doggy style joke, then you're in trouble. I love yours, by the way.
It was fun, but that
you
joke.
You could redo it now, rescue dog style.
But I remember when I was doing it, I was on all fours in my Comedy Central first half hour, and I'm banging my head on the stage, and I'm literally looking out, and I see my mom and dad laughing. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake!
It's like you're gonna wake up in a cold sweat, like, oh my god, I had a dream I was a comedian.
You see your mom look at your dad and go, right?
They're high-fiving each other. Oh, Mom. That's so us.
How'd he know?
But how is your act? Because how has your act changed or evolved? How would you say from when I knew you at the store to like your New York days?
It's very much. I've finally figured out, in my opinion, how to write a good joke, and I feel like I have the talent. And
I find that hard to weird to hear that, because you've always been just a great joke writer.
Well, thank you, but I felt like it was more like alternative, or I thought I was a good joke writer too, but it just wasn't mainstream enough. Let's put it that way. A lot of the time.
It was a little meta because you're making fun of comedy while you're doing comedy.
Right. And it was also a throwback to old school comedy, like one-liner, one-liner, one-liner. So now I'm still a joke teller.
Right.
But they're longer. And they're more, it's more personal. And I just have a lot more pride in my jokes. I think they're very good now. And so I don't back away from them.
Sure.
I don't misdirect. I'm like, this is it. It's more, listen, it's more mainstream. It's more normal, for lack of a better word. But I like to think that I still bring the flavor. And I'm really just into more tags, essentially. That's really the short answer.
Sure.
Less bragging, more tags.
Right. So great premise that is now the foundation is the premise, and the tags only accelerate and accentuate, as opposed to misdirect.
And now I just have more confidence, whereas before what you saw was a lot of squirming. Like a lot of drinking alcohol and just squirming and just got to get to the next laugh.
Was that uncomfortability or insecurity, or is that just part of the persona?
Everything. First of all, I thought it worked for me.
Sure. Okay.
Second of all, it got me in the mood to do it.
Right.
And third of all, it just killed any nerves. I can be a very nervous person.
Sure.
And I can be very much like this. Like every set just felt like it counted in LA. Back then, it just felt like it counted. It felt like I was only as good as my last set. And, you talk insecure, it was like insecurity across the board.
Right.
But I also, the short answer is I thought it was working for me. And the sad answer is sometimes it was.
If only to reinforce the bad decision.
But you can't, but it's an uncontrollable beast that you can't depend on. And so you really shouldn't start with it. And you've got to kick it eventually, because the next thing you know, even if you're moderately drinking, you're 4 drinks in by the end of the second show.
Sure.
Yeah,
that was a good lesson I learned earlier on from Louis Ferranda, who was the manager at Caroline's. I was young. It was like my fifth time on stage, he's like, hey, don't drink until you're done with your sets. That's when you earned it. You haven't earned it yet.
Yeah.
So that was like something I put in the opening act is like little lessons for like young comics or whatever. But I agree with you. I think until you've like earned that right, you know, because it can get a little dicey.
There's also the timing of it. So like, now I know, like if I'm really nervous and I do want to drink, I haven't like given it up completely.
Right.
I'll be like, all right, one beer right before I go on.
Right.
I used to show up to the club and just start drinking,
Sure.
like no science to it. So like
Right,
if you get bumped twice, now you're a mess.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Jesus, especially if like Godfrey bumps you, then you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be 8 deep now.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong. You tell yourself alcohol kills the nerves.
Right.
But then now you're following Godfrey and you're drunk and you're nervous.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What a horrible scenario. You're failing on 2 different ways now.
Sure. Yeah.
And both those ways fuck up the memorization or how the joke goes.
Right. Right.
You know, nerves can be really detrimental.
Right.
Unless you accept them. I found if you accept the nerves and you admit to yourself, I'm nervous.
Sure. Yeah.
Now you're fine.
Do you still get nervous?
Crazy nervous.
Really?
But what I've learned,
all this time?
what I've learned to do is, first of all, once you start talking,
then
it goes away.
It's the walk from where to the where you're like, oh, fuck, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Right.
Just somewhere in the back of your head, even a little bit. And then as soon as you get up there, you're like, oh, this is fine.
But for instance, I was doing some shows with Tom Segura.
Sure.
And it was I hadn't been on stage much. It was in 2021, and I really just prepared like in my living room, just like going over the jokes. And I go, Tom, I know this is what you want to hear from your opening act, but I'm fucking nervous.
Yeah.
But I went up there and I embraced the nervousness, and I wasn't like, I had developed this like kind of phony. It was a genuine character in that I loved the character.
Right.
But it was a cool, laid back character.
Right.
And so I needed that.
That was your armor.
I needed that.
Right.
But now I'm saying, okay, I'm nervous.
Right.
Go with the nervous energy. Maybe you're going quicker. Maybe you're a little nervous, but guess what? Now I'm laughing and having a good time.
Right.
And dude, I'm 48. I'm not cool anymore. Why would I try to be cool?
Right.
Embrace. You always have to embrace who you are.
Sure, of course.
You know?
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I feel like it's working better for me.
Good.
You know, and I enjoy it more. And I don't feel like I have to win every time. I don't feel like I have to be cool anymore. And that's a huge relief.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Accepting your age, which, as we all know, I'm sure we've all been in clubs where you see comics, you're like, dude, it's over. Just stop, man. Just stop.
It is weird to talk to like
Put
younger
the leather
people.
jacket away.
Yeah.
It's over. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's yeah. You don't want to be the one to say anything, but
No, yeah.
but it's over though.
It's over.
Yeah.
Not, but look, I think most comics, I feel, as I've gotten older, we're the same age. In talking to a lot of comics that I've come up with now, I feel like it's all coalesced at this point where I've talked to my wife about this. I'm like, I feel like I'm the strongest version of myself.
Yes.
Finally at this age. Like everything's coming together now. It just took so fucking long to learn how to do it.
Isn't it hilarious how all over you the industry kind of is when you're young and you don't know what the fuck you're doing?
Oh my God.
That's the thing that makes the most money out of you. That's all they care
I know,
about.
but it's ironic, you know?
Then you're the best version. No one wants anything to do. But then again, like I think like the industry threw so much money at kids early on, but they didn't have. But now it's like you're seeing the relevance of like, you know, Burr hitting in his late 40s and Tom and Bert hitting in their late 40s and all these comics. I think it's kind of hitting at the right time. Like you know, there's always the comparison between like rock stars and comedy, but rock stars, they hit in their 20s and then they kind of dip, right? And I think the great comics hit in their 30s to 40s. Highly doubtful in your 50s, but like 30s to 40s, because those kids were playing guitar at 8 years old.
Right.
So when they're 21, 22, 23, it's like, yeah, they did their 10,000 hours. They're ready for this. But for us, it's like, it takes so much longer to get to that.
We can only get our 10,000 hours 5 minutes at a time at first.
Right, yes.
And it takes a lot of hours getting that 5 minutes, but the actual time you're clocking in,
I think this
just like 5 minutes.
People take a lot of comics take the time around that 5 minutes as like, oh, I'm doing it. It's like, no, you're just hanging at the club. You're just on the train. You're driving to this shitty gig, and you're counting that as your. But the real 10,000 comes from actual
100%
stage and microphone. Which is that's an interesting point. 5 minutes at a time.
Well, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Numero uno. Oh wow. Did not expect
I'm reaching.
this.
Yeah.
Did not expect.
Well, I went
this.
through all the old stuff, and I was like looking for stuff that hadn't been done before.
All right, Tim Allen. Any
Okay.
thoughts on Tim Allen's stand-up? I don't think I've even seen him prior to me being 13 and watching like an old set, and I was like, oh, so that's how he got Home Improvement. Like I didn't even know. And then the show came out, and then as a kid, I was watching the clips, going, oh, he was a stand-up. That's pretty cool. But other than that, I know he works the Factory. I have never seen a set from him. I haven't heard anything about him. But what are your thoughts on Tim Allen?
My thoughts on Tim Allen, my brain goes back to, I used to watch a show. It was on Fox when Fox first started, and it was Saturday Night Live's competition. It was called Comic Strip Live.
Sure.
And I saw a bunch of great comics doing 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and Tim Allen was one of them. And I didn't 100% get it because I was so young. I didn't care about tools and stuff. Sure. But my dad, like that's like now I do get it.
Yeah.
And I kind of got it because it reminded me of my dad. But it was like he just talks about the joy of working with tools.
If you watch that,
it's funny. It's very funny.
His hour where it's like the yellow background looks like a giant like tool board. If I've been wanting to do this for years, I want to just edit out just the grunts and sounds. And if it's a 55-minute special, it's 48 minutes of grunting. It's just
Right.
It's all that, and it's like, and he created a multi-billion-dollar career out of that. You know,
still they rebooted the show.
Yeah.
And they've done variations of the show where he's doing like home improvement like competitions with the other guy. I forget his sidekick on the show
Richard
within
Kerr.
the show. Yeah.
Or Carney, one of them.
But I think he is. I think Galaxy Quest could be one of. If I have a top 20, that's in there. I mean, it's so fucking good. He's great in it. He's a great actor, obviously, and I'm glad to see that they're doing a Toy Story 5 because selfishly, I love those movies. But let's watch Tim Allen. This is obviously from Just for Laughs.
What's the matter with you people? I'm German, you know. I don't trust myself. These are humorless people. But they've got such a delicate, beautiful way of speaking, don't they? I mean, German is such a beautiful, poetic language. As an example, the word butterfly. In French, papillon. In Spanish, mariposa. In German, Schmetterling! Look at the beautiful Schmetterling! Even butterflies are afraid of their name in Germany. Schmetterling!
A short one, but a good one.
First of all, great performer.
Yeah.
Right?
Great
voice. Just professional. Just like really professional. Funny. You kind of know where the joke's going. Yeah. But you're laughing anyway.
Yeah. You know? A total pro. I mean, that variation, that like algorithm has been done a million times in stand-up comedy. But again, when you see a pro do it, it's seamless. Yeah.
In a very specific voice and a very specific mannerism, and it's a brand new joke.
Yeah. What was that? A suit jacket or like a work jacket? Like
let's get a look at that.
It might have been a smock from.
It looked like something like D.L. Hughley would wear. You know,
this is definitely post-success. This is post-money. The hair.
Oh yeah. He's got money here. Yeah,
it's just a suit.
It's a trench coat suit.
It's like
jacket,
a trench coat suit. Yeah, that's.
He looks like he's late for work.
He's the manager of the shop now, though.
Yeah. I would love to see more from him. Like, but then there's that. This is why I love David Spade. David, like somebody like Tim Allen, he's got all the money in the world. Same with Ray Romano. They got syndicated when syndication meant something, right? So they got boatloads of money, and they kind of dipped, and they did movies, and they kind of show up on set, and they're collecting checks, and rarely do you hear about them in stand-up. Like Spade still makes movies.
Yeah.
Still does a podcast.
Still tours.
And he still tours. And he's still writing and he's generating. And he's the nicest guy in comedy.
Yeah.
Like literally one of the nicest guys in comedy.
And he was always so funny, but I feel like he just keeps getting funnier and funnier.
Yeah.
You know?
It's kind of a sleeper too. Like you forget that he is a comedian. And then you're like, oh, he was a comedian. He's like, no, he's always been a comedian.
Always, yeah.
And then you watch I remember his first Netflix special. It was the first time I like, oh yeah, he's a comedian.
Yeah.
And I was like blown away how funny it was. And then I was like angry at how shocked I was. I was like, well, of course he's hysterical.
Sure.
Because his character is so established in like the psyche of like general media that you know who he is immediately. You don't even have to think about it. You don't have to accept the David Spade snarky guy.
Yeah.
And it's just so perfectly executed. He's fantastic.
I feel like sarcasm can be a crutch, but he's so fucking good at it.
Oh my God.
That it's like, it kills you.
Yeah.
It kills you. That guy is so funny.
And even just his asides. Yeah. It's like, I love it. Everything. Yeah.
He's got it.
I liked his show
great.
that was on, and I'm kind of bummed that got taken away, and then I think they did it on Netflix, right?
Yeah, there was like a
And
special. or
they
something like
botched that, but I really liked that show. That to me was like the closest we've come since Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn, which was one of my favorite. I used to love that show.
Yeah.
Just
too,
four
yeah.
comics dissecting current events, and I mean all the things that Dennis Leary and Greg Giraldo showdown.
Yeah, that was great.
Live on the air. It was
Yeah.
like fucking great. And Giraldo pulling no punches and reflexively just being so in the moment, like just watching a Jedi react in real time to somebody who didn't do the fucking work.
Yeah.
And it was great to
such a
see Leary
simple-
dressed down.
Such a simple breakdown, too, of like, well, because I'm a comedian and I write jokes. And he went,
Yeah.
like he had no response. He's like, oh, yeah, I don't think I've ever done that. Like,
The bully got sucker punched.
Yeah, it was great to see.
You know what I don't like? Getting called out on national TV. That's what I don't like. The whole fucking rant.
If
a
like,
week later.
he just steals everyone's cigarette bits.
All right, number 2. Oh, love it. Cedric the Entertainer. Cedric the Entertainer. Any thoughts on Ced?
I don't know him that well.
Yeah.
All I know is I love his style. I love the whole, what was it, the Kings of Comedy?
Sure.
I love all those guys, and I love him too. But I don't know that much about him. I look forward to this clip.
When we did the opening act, we had reached out to 2 or 3 like veterans of stand-up, right? We reached out to like Steve Martin and Martin Short and I think Billy Crystal, and they all passed. And I was like, well, let's think outside the box. And I think it was Vince Vaughn that brought up Cedric the Entertainer. I was like, wow, that's a great, like, I don't know that I would have ever come, because I saw Kings when it came out, but that was it, you know? And then Cedric read the script and he's like, Jimmy leaves insurance and he's like, hey, I work for State Farm. And I actually left for Star Search and I never went back. So I technically still have a job at State Farm. And he's like, I relate to this so much. And then he came and there's all these like, you know, wise Obi-Wan distilling information to the young Jedi. And you're watching Ced and Jimmy react in real time. The first scene they did was these diner scenes where Cedric's walking him through what it's like to be a headliner and what's really important in stand-up and in life in general. And you just watch it, man. He was so grounded. He was so fucking good in that in the performances. And then I went back and started watching all of his old stand-up. Yeah. And man, the guy is. There's a reason he has been working nonstop since he left State Farm to go to Star Search, and from Star Search on, he's one of those sleeper, you know, guys that you're just like, oh yeah, he's got a hit TV show on CBS right now, and he's always in movies. Top 5, he was one of the best parts of that movie, with Chris Rock. He's a ringer, Honeymooners. He's done everything you can in show business,
and also just on a surface level, I love the name.
Oh,
I love I love a name that's a title.
Yeah.
Do you know his real name? Does anyone know what his real name is?
I don't know his last. I think I got it. We were asking him because the day he rapped, we sat there and just me, Jimmy, and Alex Moffat. We sat in a circle in a parking lot of the Brea Improv we were filming, and just cracked open a bunch of beers and asked Cedric like 1,000 questions. And it was so cool to like hear his stories and hear his stories about Byrne and hear his stories about how he got started. And I don't know, it's fascinating. So let's watch this clip.
Do you want to know his real name?
His last name?
His real full name.
Oh, good.
Cedric Antonio Kiles.
Not a bad name.
Never would have guessed.
Yeah.
But the Entertainer's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not all. What do you do?
It's also like I do more than
Cedric
comedy.
the Kyle.
White people like space movies. Black people don't really do space like that. White people love space movies. They love movies about the moon and Mars where they can be leaving our ass down here on Earth. That's what they think. They think they're going to leave us down here on Earth. They're going to move to the moon. Ain't going to happen. Y'all move to the moon, damn it, we coming to the moon. Oh, we'll be right behind y'all in space shuttles with Cadillac grills, nigga, just rolling, one headlight out, tags be all wrong, all base. Y'all know we'll drive a space shuttle too. That's right up our damn alley. A space shuttle is long. They ain't scared no black folk. We'll drive a space shuttle. We grew up driving long cars. We'll drive a space shuttle like it's a 72 deuce and a quarter. Nigga, we get us a cigarette, nigga, we be in a space shuttle, nigga, like it's a 72 deuce. Nigga, we get
He sings it with I mean, it's so funny. God damn.
Come on. First of all, love the outfit.
Oh, yeah.
Second of all, the act out is where the real comedy is, but the premise almost comes from a place of, well, it does come from a place of like, of pain and like being left out.
Yeah.
You know, it's actually something you'd see more like today. Whereas when I go back and look at stuff, like specifically like Public Enemy and stuff, I really didn't get it when I listened to it as a kid.
Sure, yeah,
But now I like get it, and I'm like, wow, like, you know, I was just blind to a lot of like, that's
real
what this guy
it, yeah.
sees, and it's there, you know, it's there.
I love music cues, all the theater of what comedy can be sometimes.
Sure.
I'm an unashamed Carrot Top fan, always have been. Before I was doing stand-up, I saw him live like 3 times before we moved to Vegas. Like I think it's great, and I got that beat out of me when I first started doing stand-up. We were talking earlier off mic about this one comic I don't like. The second one is this other person who I had music cues, and I didn't know what I was doing. You know, you're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But he told me, he's like, that's not comedy. And he was like the older guy in the scene. And so I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get kicked out. Like no one will ever. And so I stopped doing it. And now I look back, I'm like, why can't I not do that again?
Right.
And also, turns out you're a piece of shit.
Well, comedy is whatever makes them laugh. Mm-hmm. That's what comedy is. So you can sit there and judge and be on your high horse. I don't mind publicly saying this. I was backstage doing Spade's show. David Spade came to Nashville, got a phone call, come on down. Of course, we'd love to hang out. And still just even flattered. One of those moments where like, I can't believe like I get to hang out with David. That's so nice of him. Go back. I'm doing my monologue jokes. And then Bobby Miyamoto, who I love, was up and he was emceeing, and I don't think he talked to the crowd. And I love doing crowd work. I love improv. Yeah. So I do some one-liners, and then I got fixated on somebody, and it spiraled, and it turned into just basically a crowd work set, right? So I come off, and Nate Bargatze just points to the monitor as Bobby Miyamoto is back up doing stand-up. He goes, "See that? He's doing jokes, Steve. Oh. He's doing material." And I just sat there and just bit my lip. I go, okay. I've had 4 hours of material in my specials, Nate, and it just kind of pissed me off. You know, I was really upset by it. But I think there's people that will watch somebody doing crowd work, like I love doing crowd work, and shit on it, right? Yeah. I think what people don't realize is that, you know, at least for me, selfishly, like when I'm doing it, it is exercising a muscle, because I literally go home. I've written 3 feature scripts in the last year. Yeah. So it's like what you consider writing, it's like, oh, I'm writing. Yeah. I'm fucking writing all fucking day. Yeah. Sometimes 10 hours a day. Yep. So the last thing I want to do is do regimented material. I want to goof off. I want to have fun. And the last few years, as I've done crowd work, what I've realized is when I'm writing, the impulse to improv and live in that moment of the scene of what I'm doing, it's like my crowd work is helping me actually when I'm writing these feature scripts. And so I'm like symbiotically doing it selfishly on stage to enhance whatever it is I'm working on that weekend, that particular scene or overall. And the biggest strength in A feature script, people want to feel satisfied when they read a script or when they watch a movie. You want to come out there going, no questions asked. It was satisfying. Everything tied up, right? And in a feature script, it's all about setup and it's about your payoff, right?
Yeah.
How'd you start off and how did you end up?
Right.
What's the journey? And so much of that, what you love in film is exactly what you love when you're watching people do crowd work. Callbacks. When you call back in a film and something you saw at the beginning pays off at the end, it's satisfying to you in a feature film, right? And so for me, it was like a year and a half ago, I realized, oh my God, all the callbacks I'm doing when I'm doing crowd work is completely helping me understand setup to finale in the feature script. So you know, when somebody says that's not comedy, it's like, comedy's whatever you want it to be. There's always going to be snobs.
Yeah.
And I feel like somebody like Nate in that moment was being a complete snob to me, which I don't particularly appreciate, but I do also like Nate and I respect what he's done and I think he's a great guy.
Yeah.
It was just a moment between two friends, you know, but
absolutely.
You know, there's always those judgmental ones that are purists.
And I think with the crowd work stuff too is that most people that are the loudest about that's not comedy, it's like, well, you're not good at it. And that's not a knock on you as a comedian. Right. It's a different set of skills. And just because you're not something that's not a thing you do doesn't mean it can't be done. Like,
sure.
Because I'll go as far as to say that probably some of the best stand-up I've seen, and I'll argue it all day, is crowd work.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I think funnier than any stand-up comedy is incredible improv.
Yeah.
You can't beat like really, really good improv. But there's a disparity between what is good improv and then there's everything else.
Sure.
When it comes to improv. So I think crowd work can be very formulaic, but when you actually know how to do it and you're doing it and you're not doing the stock lines, what do? You guys fucking like there's that thing, but then when you build off of that, that's when you can get really, really good, really funny stuff.
I think we police each other a little too hard as comics because we're like this bastard art form. Like we don't have like the union. And we don't, so we try to keep each other honest. Yeah. But that can be bullshit. Sure. Because crowd work, for example, is improv on stage. Right. It's a way to get in the moment, which is key. When good jokes are bombing, it's because you're not in the moment. So you get in the moment and you move on. Music cues, props, all these things we're skeptical of. But the truth is, it's about what the audience wants. Right. And, like, you know, we're kind of, like, looking at each other like, hey, we almost want to call each other, like, you're cheating or something. Right. But the truth is, you're up there. You're allowed to do whatever the fuck you want up there. And as long as they're laughing, you're doing your job.
You earn the stage time,
I'll say the only caveat, in my opinion, hopefully we all agree, is that you can do anything you want up there as long as it's not somebody else's shit.
Well, of course.
Because I've had arguments recently with a comic that was like talking about how much he's a killer and I'm this kind of headliner, and I'm like, yeah, but all your stuff's lifted. You're just doing like you're doing everyone's joke, but like in your accent. Like, stop doing like.
There's somebody succeeding right now.
No, because they're arguing with me about what comedy is. I'm like, why are you talking to me about it?
Yeah, but I think those people that say it primarily are the ones that are the bookworms. They're the writers. They're the ones that are, you know, going intensely over their act, bringing it to the stage. Well, look how hard I worked. Yeah. And you're just going up there and you're just making it up. It's like, but, you know, it's also like improv, crowd work. It's never going to be on television. It's never going to be the late night set, you know?
Yeah, and I will defend you when I say I watch you go up with like 20 new jokes that you just wrote that day or that week. Yeah. And like you fucking... You balls out.
You hope so, yeah.
Do it. No. My point is, you take chances. You believe in your writing. Yeah. And you're obviously a writer as well.
Well, you know. Yeah, but to what we were talking about earlier, there's different muscles. Just because you're a comic doesn't mean you can roast somebody. You can do improv. You can do crowd work. You can do one-liners. You can do storytelling. It's like all these facets are muscles that some people just stick in the pocket and some people try to shift gears. And so, you know, that last hour special I did is one-liners, storytelling, and stand-up. So two muscles I never really worked on because I'm not the best storyteller. And one-liners, I worked with Argus Hamilton for, 3.5, 4 years on those monologue jokes, and he basically taught me how to write, one-liners, just constantly
Current
flipping
events
it,
and stuff
flipping
like
it,
that,
flipping it
yeah.
on people. Yeah, so that was a muscle now that I have thanks to him, and I think there's nobody better than Argus. And I mean, obviously, you and I know him very
I love
well
Argus,
from our days at the store.
Yeah.
But at one time, I think he had the record, right, for most
Tonight
Show appearances.
I think, yeah, well, that's right. The Tonight Show has kept going. But yeah,
My
for
God.
the longest time. And he might still hold the record. I'm not sure.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And there's also nothing harder, to those comics' point, to crush crowd work and then have to go into material.
Yeah.
That transition sometimes is like the most daunting task because you're like,
I
really set myself up for like this. I better come. This shit better work.
Yeah.
With that same energy because you just had like a moment with crowd work and then you're like, fuck. Now my material's got to live up to this.
The concept of following yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you just showed how funny you can be.
Yeah.
Now you have to be that
And
funny
you're like toilet
from now
paper.
on.
Yeah.
Like they know it. They know you planned that. And it's
I
like,
was in line at the bank the other day. Like,
Get
the
back
professor.
to Judy and her fucking ornery husband. All right, here we go. Number 3. This is Shane Torres. So I know of Shane Torres. I've seen a clip. I've seen some clips of him, and he's starting to kind of.
yeah, he's
blow up. Is that
popping.
co-
Yeah. He's
okay.
getting. He had a big joke blow up from Conan, and he's on tour. He tours for years with Burt.
Okay.
But he also like headlines and tours his own and stuff
Sure,
too. So
okay.
yeah, he's a great. And this is a good bit of his that I really like.
No one talks about the downside of getting your dream. You usually go to a comedy club or some fucking place and you're there for 3 days and no one knows you. And like the only person you talk to outside of the audience for an hour a night is some fucking hotel clerk. You know? And you like walk in and it's always the same. Like I show up and I go, hello. And there's always just some fucking mouth breather behind the counter just like, hi. Welcome to La Quinta. And I'm like, I gotta fire my agent or whatever. And I go, my name is Shane Torres. Can I have my room now? And he's always like, of course. And then I go, I would like a room with 2 beds. And then he always says, are you expecting a guest? And I go, no. It's none of your fucking business what I'm gonna do to that other bed. But since you're the curious type, 1 bed is for regular sleeping. And the other bed is for completely nude eating. And then I get in it, and I'm like, everything around me's a napkin now.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, great bit.
That's great. And, I mean, that's a total pro. Sit in the silence.
Oh yeah.
Draw them down to your tone. Slow it down. Live in the moment. It was great. Really great.
Big payoff.
Big payoff. Yeah.
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 Really good. I liked it
Love
a lot.
Shane, yeah,
what can
yeah.
I say?
Yeah.
It was great. It was very well done.
And he didn't go to the easy jerk off, you know.
He didn't go to the easy, and then I'd never seen him before, so I was like, is this going to pay off? And it fucking paid off, which is what an audience member gets at the type of gig he's talking about, where you go for the weekend at the mall, and nobody knows you.
Yes.
And you're like, is this guy funny? And there's a tension, and then boom, he busted the dam wide open.
Yeah.
Made it happen.
That last line, too, was great.
Yeah.
Everything's a napkin.
Everything around me.
It's such a great
But
line.
there was a dance, too. Right? The huge delivery. It was like a whole concept. It wasn't just a payoff, you know?
And that's a joke too that I think comics will appreciate because we're all on the road constantly. but it's also one of those inside baseball that still is letting the audience in on our world that is still so relatable and funny too.
Because then anyone watching that can be like, I'm going to get 2 beds and use it as a napkin.
Yeah,
like,
exactly,
it's great. I think I started doing that after I heard him do that bit. I was like, oh, this is great. I need 2 beds.
I would be surprised.
I always loved having 2 beds. One was just for clothes.
Yeah.
And then when I slept in, and now I'm like, I'm going to have a burrito. I'm just going to wipe my head all over this goddamn
I wouldn't be surprised if a tag, but he's probably a better writer than this. If he didn't be like, at least one person in here is gonna fucking do that shit. It definitely makes you curious about trying it.
Well, as you know, on our show, we objectively watch 3 comedians, and then one of us is on the hook because we've got to watch a clip of one of us. So,
oh no.
So that's the reaction. Not only when you hear that, that's the proper reaction, but it's the reaction for whoever's video comes up. So this is the most painful part of the show.
Is this gambling? This is a slot machine. It might be any of us.
It's could be any of us. Mike chooses. Thus, Pinata. Let's bust it open. Let's see who we got.
Okay, I get it.
Oh God. Oh fuck. Oh God. This is. Oh. Can you just stop this real quick?
Yeah, but can you stop interrupting? We're trying to watch.
I just want to apologize for what you're about to see. I want to look at the camera and apologize for what you're about to see.
I have noticed you do love having your name on stage with you.
Well, you know why? You know why I put the name on stage? Because before, this was just on TV. So this is the way to Google.
Oh,
it's like,
right.
you know,
so smart.
This before, like, you know, people were using their phones to watch stand-up and everything. So it was like, well, people would watch and go, who is that person? So I was like, make sure my name's on it because people always fuck up my name.
Sure. Yeah.
And this is a way to search it.
Whose decision was it to make the T's and the V little? Was that like an artistic? Or they're like, we only got little T's and V's. We got to...
This is completely not what I asked for at all.
Okay.
I asked for the Vegas sign, welcome to Las Vegas, but I wanted it like that and Steve Byrne. And then I showed up the day of, and this is when I realized.
Ping pong balls instead.
You're Asian. You love this shit.
You know what was really good was I think it was your half-hour special that kind of looked like the Elvis or like the Strokes.
Oh yeah, it was Elvis, but it was like an 8th grader made it. I said I want the Elvis lights, like 68 comeback special, and then it looked kind of shitty. So my 3rd special, we actually got it right, and it was fucking massive. And it looked so cool. But all right, this is oh God, this is so bad, fucking awful.
Dance ever.
Jesus.
Girls are always the first ones on the dance floor. Wedding, bar mitzvah, prom, Old Navy. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't even make sense.
You drop girls off a dance club at 10 o'clock.
It's rules of
girls are gonna
3,
dance at 10
you know?
to 1. And they'll kick the door and just, let's go, girls. Let's up the club. Where's my team? Tina, Kimmy, Bethy, BFF, best friends forever. Let's go. Let's do this.
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
We are so crazy, girls.
This is a kid just trying to get
We're
laid.
dancing in circles. Why do girls dance in circles? Like you got to summon the gods for some rain or something?
Awful.
You will never see 8 dudes dancing in a circle, okay? Go, Jimmy. Go. Come on, Tony. Nobody puts baby in a corner. Get up here, you.
Fucking garbage. Guys, don't laugh.
For girls. 11:30,
I'm enjoying
12 o'clock. That's when guys have had enough to drink. That's when guys will surround the dance floor like a group of horny, filthy animals. Never seen a girl just...
I should sell this bit to Eliza.
I think she took it already.
It made it more successful.
She can see her look. Where's that? Behind her. Remember there was a time in this country where a guy would go, excuse me, may I have this dance? Not anymore. It's, hey, girl, hey.
Great moves, though.
You like that, girl? You like that? No, I have scoliosis. Please stop. I have scoliosis. My time. So,
you tell us to stop when you were done.
Situation, but regardless, once the hand hits the hip, it starts a chain reaction. The girl's head will swivel back, examine the scenario, draw up conclusion, report it to the girlfriends. If a girl does not like the guy, one thing she'll do, she'll embarrass him. I know. Girls will be like, girls, wait, that's a guy. Oh, no, wait, that's Oh, my God. Growth, girls, growth. Lock it up, tighten it up, move, move, move. It's like a parade. Got the fat girl on the back with the drum.
That one I like.
That's a great set.
I like that one.
That's a great set.
You're not enjoying it because you know it, but it's very well written, very well executed, and the delivery is fucking military.
Very animated because you're making up for a lack of material.
Well,
but then I moved to LA, and then Tripoli had a bit that was very similar.
Yeah.
So look, you're 20. You're going out at nightclubs at night. You're trying to get laid. I mean, this is my world. This is what happens, right?
Yeah.
So you're just kind of talking about it. And look, I did that bit in New York City for so long, and then you go out on the road, and then you're seeing, oh, everybody's got that bit. This guy's got that bit. And it was nothing groundbreaking. And that was one of the biggest lessons, is that this special came out and nothing happened. Like, I thought, oh, okay, this is going to be good. I got my first hour specials on Comedy Central. And I remember talking to a friend of mine, and he said, yeah, you killed. The jokes were all good, but no one knows who the fuck you are. Mm-hmm. Anybody could have done those jokes. You could have put 1,000 different people up on that stage doing versions of those jokes. And I was like, wow, okay, yeah. So that was the start of, like, peeling back the layers and trying not to be so broad and being more introspective.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that, and this, I don't know where I heard it, but the more specific you get, the more universal it gets in a way.
Yeah,
If you talk about your relationship, your specific relationship,
it's crazy
more
how many people can relate to
Yeah.
the things that are unrelatable in your mind. Like, no one's ever done this. It's like, well, I've experienced some version of that.
Right.
Everyone can pick pieces out of it.
That's just too broad.
Definitely a banger, though. Definitely like
in the
a banger
day,
that keeps going. You could close on that, right?
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, you could close on that, but I had Bruce Lee, I had mac and cheese, I had all these doggy style. It's all just like sophomore, 8th grade bullshit.
You know, a joke I love of yours from back in the day was when you walk past, you're in a hotel hall room, and you hear somebody having sex.
Yeah. You need me? That was...
Should I do it for the audience? I didn't want to butcher your joke.
Go, yeah.
The funny part that's funny to me, it makes you like smile, but then it makes you sad, and I like that because I feel the same way, but I don't know why.
Yeah, someone's banging, but it's not you. So I remember the line I always say was, "You need me," and that was like a line so many friends would repeat to me, like Sebastian was apple martini. So I'd show up at the store and be like, "You need me?" I was like, "Oh, okay." They like that joke. That was nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's painful. God, that was fucking excruciating. It's like going to the dentist. When's the last time you've watched yourself?
I don't watch myself much, and I find it very painful.
Yeah.
And it is hard when you see jokes that you don't really approve of anymore.
Right,
You're
yeah.
going to be very hard on yourself.
Sure, yeah.
The sad thing is, it's always going to happen. So we think we're in the zone right now. Mm-hmm. Well, talk to us in 10 years when we watch this shit.
Sure,
we're going to be like, well, I can see everything I did wrong right there.
Yeah.
It's tough. You feel like you have to be that way on yourself to get better. But you don't have to be that hard on yourself. It's just like we kind of want to keep it real with ourselves for some reason.
Yeah.
It feels like the truth when it hurts, but that's not necessarily the truth.
Yeah.
You go, why would I tell myself this if it wasn't true? Because I'm hurting myself.
Yeah.
But I think that it's in the middle. So I think the truth is in the middle somewhere.
Always.
It's great, and also it could be better.
Yeah, OJ didn't do it. What were you gonna say, Mike?
When was the last time? Speak about like getting better. When was the last time you sat in went to a comedy show as an audience member? Not like stood in the back with the comics, but sat down, 2-drink minimum.
Never. Never.
I think you should.
I did it recently with my wife and her work friends, and I'm like, I need to sit in an aisle seat because I need to be able to get out of there when I get uncomfortable, because I get very uncomfortable.
Sure.
If they're killing, I can get jealous. Mm-hmm. And if they're nervous, I want to puke.
Right.
I always watch comedy from the back of the room at 3 minutes at a time.
Right.
And
you see enough, and
I see enough, and I pop in.
There's
and out,
some anxiety that comes about you that you're like,
big
I'm out.
time.
Yeah,
big time.
When I moved to New York, it was a halfway trip. I stopped at Richmond at the Funny Bone. I've worked there before, so I was like, oh, I'll get a free nacho. Like they'll hook me up, whatever. And I was like, oh, there's a show going on. I'll sit and watch the show. One of the most excruciating experiences as a comic to sit there and actually be in the show. You don't realize an audience. I think it's important to understand like the audience perspective of comedy, because I think we lose that way too quickly. But like what it takes to sit down with people close to you, everyone's chewing at you. You got your kids are babies. Like we talk about it, we know, but until you're like there experiencing the waitress interrupting you every 20 minutes and you can't pay attention, you miss the bit. And we're mad at them because it's like, well, why did you get that? It's like, there's so many things happening there.
Right.
I think that it should be like a course, part of the syllabus of a comedian. Once every 10 years, you got to go do 2-drink minimum, sit down and watch a comedy show at a club somewhere.
And I had a similar experience too.
And it's brutal.
where I went to see it was a killer show. It was like Burr and Jesselnick and Hannibal and Tom Rhodes, and just waiting in line, like totally changed my mind on what the audience is going through.
Yeah.
It's like getting on an airplane.
Sure.
And now all of a sudden the show started. And some comic is like, "Why aren't you guys laughing?"
Yeah,
because we're confused. We don't know what's going on yet.
You're excited when you see the line
groove
around
yet.
Zany's wrapped around the corner in Nashville. That great line that shows up around there, and then it's like you're excited, but they're like, "Let me in!" Like, what the fuck? I'm just sitting out for 2 hours waiting for this other show to get out. Then I'm going to be hustled in. It's hot and steamy from the last show.
Sure.
I got to eat these nachos because I have to. Like, there's so many parts of that I just don't think that we like respect.
Yeah.
As much as you shouldn't respect the audience, I think we got to give them a little bit.
Mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, mix it up. Yeah.
I say fuck that. I will never, ever, ever, as a working comic, pay fucking admission or pay for 2 drinks to watch anybody. I just won't. It's the last thing I want to fucking do.
No, of course.
But I'll tell you, I was at the Cellar last night, and I showed up a little early. I had some time to kill, and I was like, I'm just going to sit in the back and watch until I go up, instead of going to the bar, which I normally would, and just bullshit and hang out with anybody. And watch Shane, watch Godfrey, watch Michael Che. And it was the first time in a long time where I was like, I wasn't a comic. I was just a person enjoying comedy. And it was so fucking fun. I was like, God damn, this is fucking great. And it was like, oh, now I get to go up and be a part of that. It was just like one of those nights where the audience was in it from the very beginning. Artie Fuqua was doing a killer job hosting. But I think I've always tried to be aware of the audience experience. So I that's why I dress up in a suit. It's a way of showing gratitude and respect. Like, I'm dressing up. You made this your evening. Thank you. If the second show starts a little late, I always make sure to thank the audience for waiting. I apologize about that. And I try to buy drinks along the way. I had an experience years ago where a kid showed up in the front row, Dallas, Texas. He was there with his mom. I fucking shit on this kid. A 21-year-old out with his mom on a Saturday? What the fuck? Do that Sunday, not on a Saturday. I was just dumping on him.
Yeah.
He delivers pizzas for Papa John's, and I was trying not to punch down, but I was just dumping on this kid. And I was still making sure he was having fun, right?
Sure.
So then after the show, I go across the piano bar at the Edison Improv, and the mom's there. And the mom walked up to me, and she goes, "Hey, I just want to tell you, we had a great time tonight. Thank you so much." And I was like, "Oh, you guys were such great sports." She's like, "No, you don't understand. My son, he's had 7 open heart surgeries the last 10 years. And, he's at home, and I'm just like, what do you want to do tonight, honey?" And he's like, "Mom, I just want to laugh. Let's go to a comedy show." And it was like one of those, like, I could cry thinking about it. But like he said it, and then I ended up hanging out with the kid, and we've kept in touch. Every time I show up, he comes out to shows. He's engaged now, and
even with that shitty heart of his,
even with that shitty heart of his,
what a disgusting woman she must be.
But it was one of those crystallizing moments on stage at post show that it was like, you never know what the fuck's going on out there.
Yeah.
Somebody's hurting. Somebody needs this, and that was one of those things where I was like, don't take this for granted.
Right.
Make sure you do your fucking damnedest to make sure they go home and have a great time. So
Absolutely.
I had one. I'll keep it brief because I know we're running low on time. But first time she'd been out since getting diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
And she through just chatting with people in the crowd, she mentions it, saying, "I just shit on her because I'm like, she's not here to be coddled. She's here."
Sacred.
And I went after, and people were like, it wasn't great, but she was having a great time, and she was crying after the show. She was like, "Thank you so much. That was so much fun."
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, I don't care about anybody else. Like, you just found out you got cancer. This is the first time you made it outside.
Right.
The show was now for you."
And they want to
she
hear
had a
those
blast.
things too. Yeah. I did a show where a woman had brain cancer. She survived brain cancer twice, and I was like, "Ladies and gentlemen, how about for everybody?" And I was like, "And you know what they say? Third time's a charm. Come on, guys." Just here. Ooh. But again, who laughs the hardest?
Yeah.
The person affected by it the most.
Because you don't care if they're all
it.
not into it, but if the person that you're shitting on is having the best time, like that's
they want it. Yeah.
They don't want to be treated like special or delicately.
Exactly.
They want to get it just as bad as everybody else.
As bad as everybody else. So Matt, where can everybody keep up with you?
I got a new podcast out called The Power of How, where
There you go.
we generally just bitch about our minor problems and then try to find the positive outlook on it.
Right.
And you can find me at The Full Charge on Twitter and Instagram, Matt Fulchiron on TikTok, Matt Fulchiron on Facebook. Woo! So much social media, so little time.
Big Man Mike.
At Big Man Mike on everything, and at comedypinata. Follow the Instagram. The link's there for everything. The YouTube. If you're watching, you should listen. If you're listening, you should watch. Give us a like. Give us a rating. Give us a review. That's free. Just click it and it helps the show. It's free. You know, we're not asking you for money. Not yet.
Not yet. But being here in New York City has been a game changer for the show. So thank you guys so much for all the kind words, the support. The viewership has spiked quite a bit. So thank you guys for that. Got to thank our sponsor really quick. Did you know car possession is on the rise? You know you also have every right to stop a repo guy from taking your car. Consumers have broad rights to stop a car repossession from happening. That is where the law firm Sue the Collector can help you. If your car is about to be repossessed or your car was repossessed and you verbally told them to stop, leave your car alone, were physically hurt or injured by the repo agent, or they took the wrong car altogether, you may have a case. The attorneys at Sue the Collector specialize in wrongful car repossession and can help you or your loved one. If you or your loved one were injured, lost valuables, or wrongfully had your car repossessed, call us now, 1-877-BAD-REPO. Again, 1-877-BAD-REPO. 1-877-BAD-REPO. Guys, thank you so much. And most importantly, thank you to Matt for coming down and spending time with us.
This was a lot of fun.
This was the part of the job I didn't hate.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Call back. There we go.
That's comedy.